I ruled everything, except the one decision that defined my entire life. From the outside, my life looked precise, measured, unquestionable. Every system answered to me. Every outcome was anticipated. Every variable accounted for. Control wasn't something I sought. It was something I lived inside. People think ruling is about power over others. It isn't. It's about discipline over yourself. About knowing when to speak and when silence carries more authority. When to move and when stillness decides the outcome. I mastered that early. Too early. I could manage people, situations, crises. I could navigate politics without raising my voice. Resolve conflict without appearing involved. Shape futures without leaving fingerprints. That's what they call leadership. But there was one area where rules changed. Marriage. Marriage wasn't presented to me as choice. It was presented as alignment. Compatibility on paper. Stability in appearance. Continuity in legacy. Everything made sense. Except one thing. Me. People assume powerful men choose freely. They don't understand structure. Freedom decreases as responsibility increases. I was allowed opinions, not authority. They spoke about timing, about duty, about suitability. They didn't ask what I felt. Because feelings complicate systems. I understood the logic. That's what made it dangerous. When logic is flawless, resistance feels irresponsible. I didn't protest. Protest implies chaos. I complied. They thought compliance meant acceptance. It didn't. It meant restraint. I ruled empires of responsibility. But I didn't rule my own union. Marriage, in my world, wasn't about intimacy. It was about balance. About optics. About continuity. About silence staying intact. Love was never part of the discussion. That omission was intentional. They don't fear loveless marriages. They fear unpredictable ones. I entered marriage the way I entered everything else. Prepared. Composed. Aware. But awareness doesn't equal consent. People saw confidence. They didn't see surrender. I honored the role. That's important. I didn't rebel. I didn't disrespect. I didn't fracture what was expected of me. I did what I was trained to do. Maintain. But maintenance is not ownership. I ruled decisions that affected millions. But not the one that affected me most. That contradiction followed me quietly. Into meetings. Into ceremonies. Into moments where I should have felt complete. People assume dissatisfaction comes from lack. Mine came from excess of control everywhere except where it mattered. Marriage exposed something I had avoided admitting. That control has limits. And when it reaches them, it doesn't warn you. I could shape public narratives. But not private alignment. I learned that intimacy cannot be negotiated like policy. It doesn't respond to authority. It responds to choice. And choice was the one thing missing. People think marriage binds two people. In my case, it bound an individual to a structure. I stayed composed. That's what everyone remembers. But composure isn't peace. It's performance perfected through discipline. There were moments I wondered what life would look like if I had been allowed to choose freely. Not irresponsibly. Freely. That thought never stayed long. Because wondering changes nothing. I didn't resent the marriage. Resentment wastes energy. I observed it. Observation teaches faster than emotion. I learned how systems protect themselves. They offer you everything except the right to disrupt continuity. I learned how personal sacrifice is reframed as honor. And how honor becomes a language that silences dissent. People praised my maturity. They didn't know maturity was my only option. I ruled everything. Budgets. Strategies. Institutions. But marriage ruled me. Not emotionally. Structurally. That realization didn't break me. It clarified me. I stopped confusing authority with autonomy. They're not the same. Authority lets you command outcomes. Autonomy lets you choose consequences. I had one, not the other. Marriage taught me humility no opposition ever could. Because opposition confronts you. Structure absorbs you. I learned how easy it is to mistake duty for destiny. And how dangerous that mistake can be. I didn't escape the marriage. Escape implies panic. I remained. Remaining was expected. But remaining doesn't mean unawareness. I learned to live with a decision I didn't author. That's harder than living with a mistake you chose yourself. People think regret comes from wrong choices. Sometimes it comes from choices you never made. I ruled everything, except the one institution that decided my personal life. That truth didn't make me bitter. It made me precise. I stopped believing that power equals freedom. Power is responsibility multiplied. Freedom is something else entirely. Marriage showed me the limits of my world. Not cruelly. Quietly. I accepted those limits. Acceptance is not surrender. It's clarity without illusion. I didn't need to destroy anything to understand it. I only needed to see it clearly. People ask why I remain calm. Why I never speak about it. Why I don't explain. Because explanation wouldn't change the truth. I ruled everything. Except my own marriage. And once you accept where control ends, you stop wasting energy pretending otherwise. That's not weakness. That's sovereignty of a different kind. After that realization, I stopped asking myself whether it was fair. Fairness is a language systems don't speak. They speak continuity, stability, outcome. And once you understand that, the questions change. I no longer asked why this marriage. I asked what this marriage requires. That shift wasn't surrender. It was adaptation. Adaptation is how people like me survive structures we didn't design. You don't fight them head-on. You learn their weight. You move within their limits. I learned how to be present without pretending. How to fulfill expectations without manufacturing emotion. How to remain respectful without confusing respect for intimacy. That distinction matters. Because intimacy cannot be commanded. It must be invited. People assume distance means coldness. It doesn't. It means honesty without performance. I didn't try to rewrite the marriage into something it wasn't. That would have been dishonest. Instead, I learned to coexist with it accurately. Accuracy is underrated. Most people survive by lying gently to themselves. I didn't. I saw the marriage for what it was. An agreement. A structure. A decision made for reasons larger than emotion. And once I stopped expecting it to become something else, the tension eased. Expectation is what creates friction. Remove it, and you regain balance. I stopped measuring my life by what I lacked. I measured it by what I could still govern. My conduct. My integrity. My silence. Silence, when chosen, is power. Silence, when imposed, is weight. I learned to carry it without letting it distort me. People confuse acceptance with defeat. Acceptance is clarity. Defeat is confusion. I wasn't confused anymore. I also stopped comparing my life to others. Comparison assumes equal starting points. There were none. I had responsibilities most people never carry. They had freedoms I would never experience. Both came with cost. Marriage became part of the structure I managed. Not emotionally. Operationally. That sounds cold to people who live by feeling. But feelings were never the currency of my world. Stability was. I learned to find meaning outside of romance. In discipline. In consistency. In doing what needed to be done without applause. That doesn't mean I stopped feeling. It means I stopped demanding fulfillment from places not designed to give it. Some lives are built for love stories. Some are built for continuity. Mine was the second kind. Once I accepted that, resentment lost its grip. Resentment feeds on expectation. I had none left. I didn't become smaller. I became clearer. Clarity changes how you move. You stop reaching for what isn't available. You stop resenting what never promised to be yours. Marriage didn't own me. It framed me. And within that frame, I chose how to exist. Choice still existed. Just not where people assumed. I chose dignity over resistance. Precision over chaos. Understanding over bitterness. Those choices don't look heroic. They look invisible. But invisibility can be powerful. It allows you to live without constantly negotiating your reality. I ruled everything. Except my own marriage. And once I stopped trying to rule it, it stopped ruling me. That's the part no one tells you. Control ends somewhere. Peace begins when you stop pretending it doesn't.